let's talk more inside linebacker. PFF recently dropped their top 50 free agent list. Within it, the Steelers are expected to land 2 names in at the same time lose Cam Sutton to Minnesota, which is becoming a revolving trend of Cam Sutton. Just he's not going to stay with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't think it's that realistic right now. But the 2 names that the Steelers are expected to land, Rock Ya-Sin to replace Cam Sutton, obviously, out of the Raiders. Spent, 3 years with the Indianapolis Colts before that. And then the second one is TJ Edwards out of Philadelphia, who before the Super Bowl had a very good season, I thought. I don't think anybody had a very good Super Bowl defensively when it came to either side of the football, but I guess that's because the turf was weird or something. I couldn't tell you. Rihanna's show was too crazy. Anyways, or either way, we'll start with TJ Edwards. You look at TJ Edwards. We just talked about Bobby Wagner. You said they need to upgrade in the position no matter what. Is Edwards a more, let's say, realistic option to bring in? He's younger, probably not going to be as expensive to land with the Steelers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think he's a more realistic target. Just like when we get into start talking about, just numbers wise, I think he's more realistic. I think he's an interesting fit. I don't know what his value is going to be. I would anticipate probably in like the mid-tier free agent market, but it's going to be saturated because there's a lot of names. But I think Edwards would be a good fit. From what I've always seen, I feel like he's more comfortable like defending the run. You get him out there in space a little bit. I don't know that I'm as crazy about him. I do know that he had a career high in pass breakups this past year, which was like 8.
Yeah, he did.
So I'd be interested to see like what the tape looks like in coverage, but definitely more of like a zone guy rather than like, asking him to, play man to man or like run a bunch vertically. But, definitely him. As far as like Ya-Sin, that's a really interesting name to me because like I was on Twitter back in, when he was coming out of the draft.
Yeah,
I think it was 2019. And it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Every mock draft from like every big name draft media guy had them taking Ya-Sin. And like it's weird. It's really funny, like for you guys that don't know, like the bigger draft names, especially as it gets like closer to the draft, like the good ones, like Daniel Jeremiah and guys like that, they're going off of like what they are hearing, not necessarily where they would take guys. And dude, there was so much smoke around him and the Steelers, and I was like getting a little bit worried because I was like, dude, I like this guy, but like he is not first round worthy. Like I would not take him at 20 or wherever they were slotted.
Yeah. He ended up going in the second round, right? He was a second round pick.
He's like the second or third pick in like the second round.
Yeah,
but
to Indy, dude. Yeah, he was their first guy that came in on a visit, I believe.
Yeah, there was a lot of smoke.
He was from Temple, obviously, so he's got the PA connection. Everybody's like, oh, they're basically neighbors, not realizing that you're 4.5 hours. There's like 17 schools in between here and Philadelphia.
Yeah,
but
it was.
I don't know. I'm not very high on Rock Ya-Sin. I think people try to hype him up and say, oh, he's very physical and he only allowed 1 touchdown last season. Yeah, I get that, but I don't know. He's like a younger Levi Wallace. That's how I look at him. Just a physical guy who, yeah, he's not bad. Like you put him on the field, you're not going to freak out that he's on the field. But are you going to sign him for $8 million and say you're our new cornerback 1, go replace Cam Sutton? That just doesn't feel right to me.
I think if you're going to bring him in, he's probably getting like somewhere in that Levi Wallace range.
Yeah, like $2 to $3 million a year.
Yeah, for like if Sutton ends up pricing himself out, and say, which again, I expect Cam Sutton to be back. So
me too, but I do think that if they let him hit that,
all be null and void. But like
if they hit that market, though, if Cam Sutton hits that market, I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing. If Cam really wants to, like, I don't think it's crazy to say that he could go out there and like push for
make
double
money, double digits. Yeah,
and maybe the Steelers don't want to pay that. And if they don't want to pay that, and say they've already like decided, hey, we're already planning on addressing corner in the draft too. I think Ya-Sin's a good backup plan. I don't think that I want to stamp and say like, yeah, let Sutton go and get Ya-Sin in here. That's not what I want to do. But Ya-Sin's like a really, 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 really strong, long corner. I mean, he has, a really good wingspan. I think he put up like 18, 19 reps on the bench. He's like, he got a wrestling background, really, really physical at the catch point. The thing that's kind of been missing that I wonder if it's going to turn the Steelers away is the ball skills. That was something that, if I remember correctly, was not a strength of his coming out of Temple. And I know that that's not been a strength of his coming like in the league either. So I definitely think he can cover. I like the mentality. He can play man. I know that he improved in zone coverage because that was what was weird too. Like when he got drafted by the Colts, they were playing a ton of zone coverage, and he had this label as like a heavy man guy. So that's what he was in college. So
I was going to say Temple literally only plays zone. And I know that because Temple was growing up. Temple was my go-to school in NCAA football.
Yeah.
Just because I was down the road, people like you had to build Temple back up, and all they played was man.
I'll try to post some you seen clips over the weekend. But my buddy from Tape Don't Lie, shout out BD, he did a breakdown of you seen earlier this year, like over the first month of the season, like breaking down all his targets. And I watched the video. He was balling out there. So I don't know how he finished the season. I couldn't tell you. I know he was banged up. He didn't play against the Steelers, if I remember correctly.
He did not. My thing here is what would you rather? And I get that people are not very high on Ahkello Witherspoon right now, but Ahkello Witherspoon's still under contract for the same amount of money. And the Steelers had very high expectations for this guy before he got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, they could do that too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to if you're going to lose Cam Sutton and your idea is to replace him with something that is a lesser option so that you could draft a bigger name and feel comfortable about that, why not just draft a first-round corner and then see what Ahkello Witherspoon has to offer? Because that's what you were going to do last year. And then still get rid of William Jackson and maybe go sign, if you could get Rocky Sin, I guess, for $2-3 million and feel good about it and have 4 of those guys compete, that's totally fine. But I think you could go find a better James Pierre to be that 4th cornerback and you'd feel totally comfortable, or double dip in the draft like we've been talking about. And then you got 4 corners. Boom. And you feel fine.
Yeah. I mean, I still think if Sutton leaves, they're going to want to bring in like some type of veteran. I don't know where they stand with the Witherspoon. It's mind-boggling to me. I mean, they went into last season with him as the very clear CB1.
Yeah, he was their cornerback 1. It was him and Cam Sutton. That was the plan.
Maybe they still do view him like that. I can tell you right now, I can go back to look at the Eagles game, and the Steelers were acting like that man was a cornerback 1.
Dude, that's
because they were leaving him on an island with AJ Brown.
The guy had half a hamstring, and they were like,
coming off an injury. Like, dude,
he'll be fine. He'll be totally
wild
fine.
On Twitter for that. Like I remember like people going at his neck on that, and I'm like, dude, y'all are crazy. Like, this man just came back from a hammy. They're playing middle field close, asking him to press AJ Brown, like one of the best ball winners.
Hasn't played in 5 weeks. Didn't play in 5 weeks. They tossed him right back out there against the best wide receiver in football, and they were just like, yeah, you got it. Don't even worry about it, man. Like, no help whatsoever at all until you get burned for 2 touchdowns, and then we're gonna pull you, and it's gonna, at that point, it's gonna look like a benching when it's an injury. Like, I don't know. I think that you could look at that and say they're not ready to give up on Ahkello Witherspoon, so maybe he's an option. I just think that he's a sleeper in this whole thing that is not being addressed. But do you think that Rocky Sin, you think TJ Edwards, do you think they both strong options for the Steelers?
Yeah, I mean they both feel like classic Steelers kind of mid-level signings, like spot gap kind of.
Yeah. Fill the void. Another Miles Jack. TJ Edwards' market value, by the way, is decently high. It's $11.9 million a year over 4 years.
Count me out on that.
Yeah, that's way too much money. Way too much. Just go sign Bobby Wagner. $10 million. I'm telling you.